we do, but again, another thing is that there are some decisions that you feel as an organization. The intention of sanction is not to be punitive, but to make you to adjust and correct and deliver. You see, it's not for us to take an action that could affect one area over the other and make one to have advantage over the other.
But do you really sanction them?
We do.
So what is the sanction like?
For example, we have made an airline to apologize in writing to passengers, and even a particular foreign airline, and even have to give each of them $300. We have done that before. At the time the letters were being handed out for the passenger the next day, because we made them to put the passenger on the hotel. The next day when they were getting the letter, most of them did not even open the letter. Only a few ones that opened discover it's not just apology, that there are dollars inside. So we do all this, and we also restrain ourselves from making some of these sanctions public, so that it will not be as if we are celebrating those measures we are taking over them. These are airlines and they are Nigerian business or entrepreneurs that have invested their money. We want to join hands together to make sure they grow, not to die, because our existence also depends on their existence.
Okay, you mentioned the international airlines. What about the domestic? Some of them, some passengers tag them as perpetual airline that is known for delays and cancellation. There are some airlines you mentioned their names. Say, oh no, please don't fly them, because they usually delay flights.
Delays are associated with all airlines, whether domestic or international.
Okay, but on the domestic side,
we do sanction domestic. We have all the data. If you get our data that happened last year or quarterly, very soon the first quarter will be available. You will see all the charts. We do sanction domestic and international, and it's not only domestic. It's not peculiar. I have been stranded in New York, Atlanta before, and I spent travel days at the airport, stranded, abandoned. So it's not. I missed my Lagos end flight, and from New York to Atlanta, I will miss Lagos leg because there were delay and cancellation 3 times.
Okay, and you were compensated.
With compensation.
Now, what type of compensation do domestic airlines usually give? If, for instance, a case is brought to you that this airline has what type of sanctions?
It depends. Cases differ. If you are talking of pilfering, if you are talking of damage to your baggage, your bags, and all the rest, it's a different scenario. You get compensation as per what's obtainable for the domestic flight. If, for example, a flight is delayed, what is obtainable as a compensation on the domestic flight is different from international. If somebody is checked in international flight, the flight is cancelled, they're going to take you to hotel because it's international flight. It is presumed that the passenger may not be from that environment.
Okay.
But if it's domestic, you're meant to go back with an apology. It's presumed that you are from that environment.
Okay,
so it's a different scenario.
If, for instance, your flight is delayed till maybe 10 a.m., it has happened to somebody I know, 10 a.m. at night, and at the end they said, oh, the flight is cancelled. In that situation, how do the passengers get home at that time of the night?
If it happens and we get the report, we'll sanction the airline.
Okay, now what type of sanction, apart from letters of apology, maybe giving money, what other sanctions do you apply? You
don't close down the airline because you did this flight. You don't close down the airline because of that. You may give them a warning letter.
Okay.
You may cause them to write apology letters, like you said. And once we make it public, it's also a sanction. A warning letter to an airline is a sanction. No airline want to collect because it's adverse. If it got to the public knowledge, that may lead to people avoiding flights on that airline.
Okay. Now, yes, sir, you are aware that most passengers do not know their rights. Take, for instance, maybe international flight, like you mentioned, you were delayed, or maybe your bag is lost and your personal effects are there. The airline is supposed to give you a certain amount of money to buy some things, probably that you can wear or something that you can eat. A lot of passengers are not aware. In this regard, what are you doing in terms of awareness creation, sensitization, advocacy?
We're doing our little best to ensure that the passengers are well informed. We have publication which is about being reviewed now, updated. Then we have flyers. We have point of sales at all the major airports that is giving that information. But even the ticket you are holding as a passenger has some information at the back of it.
Which most people don't read.
Nigerians don't read. I don't know whether it's peculiar to Nigeria, but the informations are all over the place. You pick up those documents, there are information about your rights, about your responsibility, and of course, every limitation that are associated with it are also there. Because, for example, if you are traveling and you have to travel with a large number of laptops, you have to declare it to the airline. Because if 10 laptops got missing on your bag, there's no amount of amount to pay for your flight ticket that can replace that laptop. And that is why you must have declared it. If you declared it, then they tell you what to do and maybe obtain insurance for it.
Okay.
Because you can't be compensated beyond what you pay for your ticket.
Okay, now
Passenger has to know this.
okay, now sir, I want you to advise passengers, if they have problems that has to do with air travel in the country, where should they go to? Where should be their first port of call to lay complaints?
Basically, when a passenger have an issue, you first of all go to your airline, the carrier. The airline in which you travel, intend to travel, is the first port of call. It is when you are not satisfied with the handling of your complaint that you go to NCAA. And the reason is that if you come to NCAA first, NCAA is still going to summon the airline, and the airline is going to tell us, oh, we are not aware, we would have solved this problem. So that is why it is primarily the first thing to do. You go to the airline, I travel on your airplane, or I tend to travel, this is my experience, this is what happened, or what I don't like. And they should be able to handle you properly as a seller of that service. Okay. Because buyer is the king.
Okay, so if you are not satisfied with the way they handled
you come to NCAA and we take it up from there. But again, I have to appeal to Nigerians, please try us out. If you report to the airline, you are not satisfied, come to the airline. And if you come to the NCAA, and if we didn't satisfy you, make it public. If we didn't get, because if people just don't want to spare some time to take up and fight for their right. I have experienced the station where I traveled. My bag was not delivered, and I needed to change overnight. I needed to do some things. I went back to the airline. Initially, they tend to just say, "We'll bring your bag." I say, "No, it's more than that. How do I change the next day? How do I brush?" At the end of the day, they gave me $100, by which I have to buy certain things to wear and even buy jeans and t-shirt.
And that $100 is the standard, the amount you are expected to give internationally.
Exactly, and they brought the bag the next day. So if I had not known my right, it's just a question of giving me a phone to fill and say bye bye, I will bring it.
Now, for local, if in such a situation, how much the domestic airlines is supposed to give you?
There is no such amount attached, but they will bring your bag because it's still within Nigeria. They will bring your bag. Yes, you will have your bag.